call in.
Yeah, last time found out that my phone, the plan I'm on is data plan, so it's not actually configured for international chat or talk. So I had to upgrade it. And by the time I upgraded it, you guys' stream had ended. So.
Perfect. Well, let me find the new one. Okay, episode 20.
Yeah, we should be good now.
All right.
People just gotta find it now.
We'll give everyone a kind of a second to come into the chat. All right, looks like people are back. Sorry guys, YouTube is tripping. We still have Just Happy on the line. I just want to give give another minute, let everyone kind of pour on in. What's up, Christine? Okay. All right, so like we said, you're from Australia, Melbourne. You said socialist capital of Australia.
Melbourne.
And
we don't pronounce the B-O-U.
Melbourne.
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 Melbourne, like B-U-N.
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
And your nose
Melbourne.
Your nose has R's at the end. No.
No. Like yes or no.
No.
Well, I wasn't born here, so I don't actually have the accent, but my husband was born here, so he has the accent. So, I mean, it's strange to me as well.
Okay, so you said your parents. Explain how you saw socialism firsthand, and so you kind of know why it's not an attractive ideology.
Yeah, India was socialist through the 70s and 80s. You had to wait to get a phone line for almost 15 years. And in that time, you had to bribe every single politician. Locally, the council elected, quote unquote, to get that thing refreshed you'd paid for like a decade ago.
Wow.
Whereas now there's like 15 different telecom companies and you can just get a cell phone from whichever one you want. And the prices are really low because of that. It's amazing.
That's nuts.
Like India has better internet and better cell phone technology than Australia.
That's amazing. I mean, I knew that there was a brush with that, like they've had their little socialist commie past, just like a lot of these countries are. But so knowing that you've seen it firsthand, your parents grew up there. How do you feel about people in Australia when you see like Australians who are native there, white Australians who've been there for generations, supporting communism?
Oh, it's insane. It's insane. Oh, and the guy in the chat who says India has toilets in the street, that's not all of India, okay? That's like the poorest, worst bit.
Okay. I heard it's beautiful. There are some pretty poor parts, but...
It is beautiful. So what I'm about to say is going to be very, very un-PC. But I'm guessing no one on this cares, which is probably a good thing. So India was colonized by Islam for almost 800 years.
Right.
And before they turned up, it was awesome. After they hung out for a bit, it became the culture became very much like the culture in an Islamic nation. Like, women are not respected. It's sort of an extreme honor culture, but that's more up north. So
yeah,
the invasions came down from the north.
That's like why we have Pakistan.
So the further south you go, the nicer it is.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's why we have Pakistan, right? That was basically them cutting off a northern chunk of people who look Indian, but they are Muslim. Like, and there tends to be strong Muslim presence in the north.
Yes. But even parts of the north that aren't Islamic, because they were occupied by Islam for almost 730 years, the culture is very Islamic. Like, Rajasthan used to be a culture of royalty. Like, they had a warrior culture. Like, the women would ride into war next to their men and wield swords and things. But after Islam, it's got the worst sex ratios. The education level for women is next to nothing. It's got a very sort of honor culture thing where, it sort of women are controlled, and it's really, really backward. And it's essentially like, even though those women are Hindus, they will cover their face, almost like wearing a burqa, because back then, if you didn't, you'd get raped.
That's terrible. And I've heard, like, I used to, when I was angry and young, and I thought socialism was a good idea, because I fell for that lie too. I used to follow this one Indian activist, Arundhati Roy, and she would play that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's nuts. Like, now I see it, but she was doing the same thing, like emotionally playing you, and she would bring up like the pogrom and Gujarat and how like, you know, there was these they would just go out and massive, like people would just go out and slaughter each other. Like the Muslims would go out and start chopping up, you know, the Hindus, and supposedly the Hindus did it, you know, vice versa. But
All in the name of Jesus.
all in the name of religion. But you're right. Like it's the
I know.
Islam is very very much. It's not so much a religion as it is like a militaristic, social system, and it tries to control
Yeah.
every aspect of your life, not just your religion. It wants to control everything.
Yeah, and it's like, so essentially when you go southwards through India, it gets nicer and nicer because it's more traditional Indian culture. Like women are respected. It's more like people just sort of keep to themselves. They don't mess with you and like try and get in your face and control your life and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, my husband and I, when we went back, we did the South, and he loved it. And his parents, so his family is Australian Catholic. So we got married in Australia, like we had like a church wedding here, and then we had an Indian wedding in India. So his family came for that, and they were amazed because that's not the India you see on TV.
Right.
And they really loved it because like my state is where Mumbai is, and that's pretty much where my people held back Islam. So everything further south from there is really nice. Like all the temples exist, all the old
That's
palaces
amazing.
and stuff are still in one piece. Like they didn't conquer it and take over it and exert their culture.
It's crazy how people like that's a great observation that if you told that to a young socialist in Australia or Los Angeles, they would refuse to listen and just like look at like just like you said, look at the territory close to the north, look at the poverty, look at the extreme treatment of women. It's the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. There's something wrong with that ideology.
Exactly. So my husband's family, like quite a few of the older generation, like his mom and dad's generation, like the women are really liberal, and they're like these typical white feminists. Like everything that Jesse says about women, these women are that. There's like no logic, no evidence. Like
Yeah, I have
emotion.
experienced like girls that I knew from the past, like school, or people that I've known, women that like when I talk about, I made a post about traditional families and that how it's not a systematic issue with authorities or laws that need to be set here in America. It's about our choices as people in the family, and that we need to have a mother and a father in the house. And, you know, all the stuff that Jesse talks about and opened my eyes to. And someone came back and told me that, like, by me saying traditional family values as a white cis male, I'm basically telling women that they should just make me a sandwich. And it's like
No,
they totally flip it around and try to, you know, manipulate it into a misogynistic way. And I can totally tell right away now the women that have no good relationship with their fathers and have inherited their mother's resentment towards their fathers and have no example of what a real man is in their life. And especially now that they're like in their 30s and they're getting older and stuff, that their ego is just in defense mode. And they just feel like they're because they're still single, you know, they don't have, so they're going to try to, you know, get this education and fill their ego and intellectual mind up to feel better about themselves because they don't have a family, and try to justify why it's bad. And it just blows my mind that they could totally hear it in such a wrong way. Like, you know, it's like the straw man argument. They're trying to position me into a position that I wasn't even coming from that place. I never said anything about making sandwiches. I'm talking about families and raising children the proper way with love and all those things, and it gets flipped around, and it's like those kind of people, it's like I just can't deal with them.
Yeah, but even, I mean, it's exactly like you say. So here in Australia, right, pretty much the most successful immigrant groups are Asians.
Yeah.
And what Jesse calls as family values, those
They're
are
here
Asian
too.
values.
Yep.
Study hard, work hard, don't F around, right? Get a job, get married, and stay by your spouse and raise your kids. Those are Asian values. That's why Asians succeed.
Exactly.
Like the Asians that do well abroad are the ones that live by that. You can see, like here in Melbourne, there's a suburb called Box Hill. It's like 80% Chinese and then Vietnamese and things like that who came here like earlier on. And the public schools there are some of the best in the country because the Asian parents want their kids to study. and if they don't, they get beaten up.
Wow. I heard, yeah, like the tiger moms. They're
And I've
like,
actually-
very strict.
Yeah, I've actually heard that like there are leftist, like liberal teachers who don't want to teach in those schools because they're like, oh, it's just too hard. Like the culture is just so, it's not focused on this, that, and the other. All they care about is learning. All they care about is education. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what
you're
you're
a
getting
teacher.
paid to do. So why can't you just do it?
That's funny.
They're
Yeah.
whinging about it instead of being happy.
You know, they're just mad at the fact that these parents are uncompromising and intolerant of less than quality, teaching. You know, they demand the best, and every parent should. Like you said, it's the proof is there. When people hold those values, keep tradition alive, the children come out better. They're more productive. They're better members of society. Society does better. The nation does better, and therefore the world would do better.
Exactly. And it's, I mean, in a way, right? I don't know, maybe I'm just seeing this because I want to and it makes me feel better, but here's what's happening. So the school system here is so bad. Like Australia used to be in the top 10 through the 80s and almost up to the 90s, but right now we're behind Kazakhstan. That's like Borat's country.
Kazakhstan? Wow.
I mean, the real one.
Yeah.
We're behind them in math. And I can see this firsthand because I used to be a scientist, but then I decided I really like teaching when I was at uni. Again, this isn't science, so none of this humanities BS with women's studies and all that crap, right? I was doing genetics. And I really enjoyed it, so I decided to go in for teaching. And then I realized that they don't actually teach much at public schools. They don't really do much. Like, everyone has an excuse for not working. And instead of really doubling down and going, hey, this person is from a broken home, they don't have any good role models, so the teachers have to be the good role models. Like, basically the teacher should be the Asian mom and dad for the kids who don't have parents who do that at home. But that doesn't happen. They just make excuses for them. And because of that, every year they have to import 200,000 people like me to do the jobs that their kids aren't skilled enough to do. So what's happening is, whenever you look at the right-wing political parties here in Australia, whenever they have a conference or whenever they have, speeches and things like that, they are surrounded by Indians, Chinese, Sikhs, Vietnamese. They're surrounded by the people who share those values. And that means that it's going to create a divide because it's eventually going to be, oh, look, those people have something and we don't, so we should take it from them.
Right.
That's what socialism is about. They don't go, those people are succeeding because they did ... and that's what we should do.
And what you just said is a great example that it shows that we don't have to be the same. You can have a Sikh family, a Taiwanese family, Vietnamese family, and Chinese family. All have family values, all very distinct, all unique in their cultures and their customs. Yet those family traditional values for respect, education, honor, respect your nation, respect your family, that it all benefits everybody, and you can live together just fine. We don't have to be the same. We don't have to look the same.
And another Facebook thing I posted on my personal Facebook page about how America is the last real free country that, and there's so many people that are citizens that are complaining about it, talking crap about America. And one person was talking about how America is a S-hole country, and that you go to that I should travel more, and then if I go to other countries, I'd realize that the standard of living is so much better in other places. And he was coming from a place of entitlement, thinking that if you're born somewhere, you're entitled to have a certain way of living. Where America's set up to where you get what you put out. Everybody has equal opportunity to have the life that they want to have, depending on what they put in. Like you talked about with the Asian culture and family and stuff like that. That's why it's important, because we have the power in our own hands as people to be able to dictate and decide for ourselves what kind of life we want to have. And too many people now have this entitled, it's owed to me because I'm born, I deserve to have, the government or whatever supply me with a certain standard of living based on whatever it is. I just don't understand it, because they want to turn your sky into a ceiling and make it equal outcome for everybody, where it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter what you put in, everybody gets the same. And it's a way to go to hell.
Yeah, I think it's because they didn't learn about karma. We grew up learning about karma. If something happens, something bad happens to you, you don't sit there going, oh, woe is me. You go, what did I do
cause
to
and
deserve
effect.
this?
Yeah, reap what you sow.
Yeah, and if you, when I was I've studied in Singapore. I've studied in Hong Kong because we lived in a lot of different Asian countries. Like I've
awesome.
seen the education system in the Philippines and China as well. Like if the teacher calls home and complains saying your kid didn't do ... your parents will smack you. They won't go to school and complain. But here it's the opposite. Like the parents are always complaining.
Right, and they defend, like that's what we talked about the last stream was how we got to, when Trevor grew up with it and I grew up with it, that back then as kids, you could still be corrected by other people, other adults, and your parents took their side, and they didn't just believe the child. They would say, the burden of proof was on the child, not the adult.
Yeah.
So you had you were saying something earlier before the stream crashed that you wanted to comment about something about, was it that I was saying like transsexuals and stuff like that cannot reproduce?
Oh yeah.
And so they have to recruit?
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I don't know if you guys, so I saw this in the news, and I kind of keep an eye on things like that in the news because I feel like America is the canary in the coal mine. Like you guys are representative of what's going to happen to us next. So there's a Catholic website called First Things that covers news like that, and it's on the top of the page there. What it says is babies for sale. So that was from the 22nd, but I think it's up today. So it says that in New York, Cuomo's put through this bill that says you can basically rent women's wombs, as in you can have surrogacy where someone else carries your baby to term.
Wow.
And the way that they got it put in was by saying, well, LGBT people can't have kids, and that's not fair. Everyone should have the same outcome biologically and reproductively, and therefore the ability to buy and sell babies should be a thing. And these guys are worried about it because usually when they have, so the way they do it is they'll get sperm from someone and an egg from someone, put it together, make an embryo, and then implant it into some woman who gets paid to carry it for 9 months. And there's a lot of ethical issues with that. So, well, the one thing being that, you're paying someone for a kid, basically. I feel like that's going to cause all sorts of issues, but also usually in order to increase the likelihood of success, they'll put in a lot more embryos than the woman can carry to term. So previously they've had issues with women going, well, there's 3 babies growing inside me, and they've been told, well, we've only paid for 1, so we're going to pull out the other 2. And the woman going, no, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to kill them. So, but because you've signed away your rights as a mother, you're only a surrogate. You don't get to make that choice.
Amazing.
And the other issue is that only one of the parents actually has to be an American citizen. That means people could come from other parts of the world to have kids made in America, I guess, which is going to cause issues with citizenship. But also ethically, it's like you're basically buying and selling sperm and eggs and kids.
It's
which
trafficking.
is probably not going to end up well.
It's like
And I think if you're like reducing women to just carrying a baby as a commercial thing, there's going to be more people smuggling across your border than there was before. Because this is going to pay more than prostitution.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's still not nature, it's not, it's a forced pretend way of making it seem like you can have a child naturally, because people forget like that, a lot of kids that are born on accident. It sounds funny, but it's true. Like there's something about doing things the right way where you're ready to have a family, you want to have kids, and so you have kids, and a lot of parents that have kids on accident because they're having sex or whatever it is, and then they happen to get pregnant, because that intention wasn't there to have the kids, then they have to have the kid, and they think they're raising them the right way, but it never came from the right intent, and that type of thing is the same kind of thing where they like the kid is going to always long for their own DNA of who their real father, who the real mother is, and who's like them, because it's just nature. And so when you're forcing a kid into that kind of situation, like, that's just sad, man. Like, and then you grow up and be like, wow, I'm totally different than my parents. And imagine how many of them wouldn't tell them the truth, that just brainwash them into thinking that, oh yeah, we're your real parents. It seems like super messed up.
It's traumatic, and I believe the same thing as Trevor, that this is a spiritual thing. No matter what your background is, what your faith is, there is a spirit, and the child will always be disconnected from that if they do it the wrong way. Like a child, your spirit just knows. It knows who your father is and it knows who your mother is. And you can't just force a false reality onto that soul. So, are you so now that
Yeah,
you, since you're married to an Australian Catholic, do you have his faith?
yeah, white guy.
He white.
He is white. Yeah.
Are you? Do you practice Catholicism or are you Hindu?
I'm Hindu.
Amazing.
But I feel like I feel like there's a lot of overlap between, I would say there's like 90% overlap between what Jesse says and what I was raised with.
Amazing.
Because we kind of, I don't know how to say this short and sweet. Essentially, like, a lot of Hindus believe that Jesus is just another god.
Wait, what did they say?
Jesus is just another god.
They believe that Jesus is just another god. Like, you know how we have lots of different gods in India?
Yeah. So they actually
They just
recognize
believe
that.
that.
That's kind of cool, though. I mean, that's at least that they're not like demeaning them like some other religions think he's in hell burning in poop.
No, there's nothing like that. I mean, I'm sure there are people, look, there's people who have issues with conversions, but I think they see it as a very superficial thing. They see it as a numbers thing. Whereas I think if you really think about it, if people are doing the right thing and living the right way, it's less important what brought them to the right answer than the fact that they found the right answer and they're following it and living by it.
I agree. I mean, that's in the end. That's what we need is to live right. Like live right, do right, be right.
But see, what doesn't make sense to me, or what makes sense to me, however you want to say, is that they're like universal laws. It's like there's only one way to make a final product of a square or a circle. Like you can make it bigger or smaller. You know, like a line is a line, a square is a square. Like so, the whole God's thing, right? It's like there is an ideal, perfect golden ratio God that would be the creator, right? There would only be one. And even if there was a God that created multiple gods, there would still be that almighty God that created it all and started it. So I get lost in thinking about, oh, there's many different ways to make a square. And yeah, you could start with a different line or a different...
No, there's, Trevor, you're absolutely right. Like, we have these old books that are called the Puranas, which are like the old knowledge. It's really, really old. Like, it's before any sort of known civilization in the area, which is now known as India. And what that says is God is one and God is all.
Yeah.
So the theology that I've heard from people about it is that the reason why there are millions of gods, quote unquote, around the world is because it's like a diamond, and it's like what you were saying. If you're close enough to the diamond, you only see one face of it, and that's the face of your God.
Oh, that did make sense then. There was a coffee cup. You can only see this close.
And you call it whatever you call it in your words.
Right.
But the basic rules of it are the same. And
yeah.
I sort of feel like this is something like I will not deny that Christianity is a prerequisite for a certain level of well-being in the world. Like particularly in a world where Islam exists.
Yeah.
Like you cannot have a religion like that without having the counterbalance that Christianity provides, because freedom, liberty, individual values, anti-slavery, all of that stuff came from the Enlightenment, and that comes from Christianity.
Yeah, because Christianity is a faith based on repenting and seeing and accepting when you're wrong and knowing when you're wrong. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to follow these rules, and that's just the way it is. And you know, there's a sense of that, but it's more so just realizing that you're wrong and being an observer. And because I didn't grow up in like super religious house where I memorized. Like when I was younger, I went to this Baptist school for some reason. It was weird, and we memorized Bible verses and stuff. But I got taken out of that school, and I didn't grow up super religious, but I always believed in God, and also being in music and, you know, studying music and stuff has really showed me so much about everything, because it's like, it's harmony. You know, like you said, there's one way to create happiness and a well-being, right? And music is like the physical representation of that. It's harmony, and in a family and in life, you want to create harmony within. So it's like there's these timeless principles and rules, and you don't harmonize on accident. You know, you there's a reason why, and it's because there's specific order to music and to everything.
Yes, there is mathematical precision to it.
Yeah, and
Like
if
music and maths,
if
we
I
see
sang
those
or
as
played
the
the
literal
piano,
expression of God in human life.
yeah, if I played the piano and I could never notice when I was off key or when I was wrong, I would never grow and become better. I'd just be one of those people on American Idol who think they can sing and that suck. And everyone's feeding you lies. Oh, you sound great. Oh, you're great. Meanwhile, you suck.
I know that's something that about Jesse that really, really reached out to me. He was like, nobody's perfect. You are a work in progress, and it's when you stop working on yourself that everything's over. That's what he says, right? All hell to pay.
Right.
Like the minute you think you're perfect, you stop.
It's
I mean, Jesse is basically like the Asian dad that everyone didn't have.
yeah, I mean, he's truly a father figure. I mean, and that's why he says like that's.
He's just an example,
Yeah,
and that's what a father should be.
Yeah, a father's love is he should call you out. He should know when to raise his voice, when not to, because everyone always thinks, oh, a father shouldn't be, you should never be harsh with your child. Well, sometimes you may need to be harsh, but if it comes from love, it'll be the right time, and it'll be the right way.
And the truth is harsh. When you're not willing to face
Exactly.
it, if you don't want to face the truth and you can't accept it, it's harsher. But if you just relax in it and see it for what it is and just accept it for what it is and go along with it, then it's not harsh. It's just you adapt to it.
Exactly. I saw some old video of Jesse's where someone said something and he just got, I think that's the only time I've seen him pissed off. He just got really cold and quiet and he said, don't speak to me like that.
Oh, I want to see that. I don't know if I've seen that.
And he just reminded me of my dad. Like,
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's really old. I think it's from like 2009 or something. It's just like a random church thing where someone was yelling and Jesse just like gave the dad look. And I was like, oh, that's just like, because when I went back to India last year, I was having some sort of meaningless emotional argument with my mom. And my dad just turned to me and said, don't speak to your mom like that. And I just stopped. And I had like Jesse
I remember
my brain.
My choir teacher, he was like, I had the best choir teacher. I knew from a young age that he was just awesome. He was a Christian. He was like 22 years old when I was in high school, right? And I would act up, goof around and stuff like that. And he was never mean. But when he would just like kind of look at me and he would have no expression. He would look at me in a, kind of stone face. And I remember that it made me, the act of no reaction, right? All that does is create me, it makes me see what I did because I can't judge him. I wasn't able to judge his anger. Like a lot of teachers might get mad or yell at you or whatever, and then you get caught up in their emotional reaction to you. But because he would just sit there and he would just stand there and he would just look at me and like there would be 2 seconds where it would be like just nothing. I would see what I did wrong, and I always like just respected him. And I'm still friends with him to this day, and I've always like, thought of him as just an example of somebody like, one of the rare people I've seen in life who has a family, has kids, and just wants what's right and really wants the best for everybody. And I remember that. When, that's the thing is it's my interpretation. It's not Jesse or him or he wasn't being mean or harsh or angry or anything. It was just he did nothing but look at me, and that made me see that I was wrong. Because I saw within myself.
Yeah, you knew the expectation.
Yeah, I couldn't judge him because he didn't do anything except show me who I was being.
Yeah.
So just happy.
Oh, by the way, you guys' question, because you had a good question about should you be, what was it, intolerant?
Yeah, should a Christian be tolerant and pacifist, or is a Christian supposed to be intolerant and uncompromising?
Well, I don't think it's one or the other.
What do you think a Christian should be?
Like if a kid, like if a really little tiny little kid, like a little toddler is messing around, you're going to tolerate it to a much larger extent than if an older kid is messing around, a kid who should know better. But I would say societally, if you have standards, then you should have those standards across the board. Like if you expect men not to beat their wives or wives not to cheat on their husbands or whatever, for one race, you should expect it for every race.
Right.
So that expectation should be there across the board. And And it shouldn't be that, oh, we'll expect less from these guys and tolerate more from them. And, things like that. Because that's something that I notice here in Australia. Like, a lot of quote-unquote well-educated, rich, elite liberals. And by liberal, I mean you guys' definition of the term, which is leftist. Because
Right.
here, our version of the Republicans are known as liberals.
Right. Yeah, it used to be
They're
classical
economically
liberal. Yeah, liberal used to be a lot different than what it is today. It's changed from how we understood it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like the right-wing party here in Australia is called liberal because they're economically liberal. Like they want open markets and, free economy and things like that. Like they want competition and merit.
Right.
Not government control.
Exactly, which is funny. They're not liberal, I would say, on values. Like, so the reason why I asked the question about tolerance, because I've noticed a lot of the so-called Christians that I know that respond to some of the posts and things I share, they have a hard time accepting that a Christian, because they criticize me saying, how could you be Christian when you advocate for violence, because I speak about that a Christian at some point is justified in using violence, and they always say, oh, well, the Bible says thou shalt not kill. Well, it's like, it's not that you shouldn't kill, it's that you shouldn't murder, but if you need to defend yourself, you should know how to, you should be ready to use as much force as necessary, and obviously you don't try to lead with that, but a Christian should be ready to fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, the biological example for that is, would you tolerate a cancer to grow and take over your body? That's a stupid kind of tolerance.
Exactly.
Like, if your immune system tolerates a cancer spreading through your body and ending you, that's a non-functional immune system.
Exactly. Just like the caller.
Like, you should be able to tolerate pollen, but not.
Right. Well, like the caller from Kansas who said that they attempted to do a transgender story time at his local library, and luckily it was canceled because they were intolerant, because they refused to accept that and allow that to happen on their tax dollars, on their land, and their community. And that's, a Christian should be intolerant when it comes to accepting evil. You should never be passive about it. I don't think there's anything that's inherently pacifist about a Christian.
Yeah. Isn't there this thing that says, I came not to bring peace, but a sword?
Exactly.
Like, every system needs a system of defense.
Absolutely.
Like, you need immune cells to run around killing all the viruses.
Exactly.
You can't just exist without defensive capability.
And that's kind of where I come from. I feel like, just try to do it in a unique way to me and not force it. But I try to speak from that point of view that people need to stop with this, Christians should just turn the other cheek and just keep taking all these losses. They need to stand up, speak up, stop caring about hurting people's feelings, say what needs to be said. You're dealing with evil, and evil doesn't care about the rules of engagement. It doesn't care about politically correct. It's using those things to keep you fearful of labels, like, oh, I don't want to be called a racist, I don't want to be called a sexist, so I'm just going to shut my mouth and let them take my land and destroy my culture.
Yeah, it's, I think that's a very white people thing. Because in India, people don't seem to have any problem calling out stuff like that. I mean, do you guys know who Lauren Southern is?
What was the name?
Lauren Southern. She made a documentary about South Africa.
It sounds familiar.
Lauren Southern. She used to be on Rebel TV.
Okay, the name sounds awfully familiar. Is she a conservative?
Yeah. Also Stefan Molyneux, which I think he was on Jesse's thing recently talking about his dad.
Yeah, that was an amazing interview.
Yeah, so he and Lauren Southern came to Australia, and when they were in New Zealand, they got on some leftist TV channel, which the person was like, oh, why are you so intolerant of multiculturalism? And Lauren was like, so you're tolerant of multiculturalism? And they were all like, yeah, of course we are. All cultures are equal, blah, blah, blah. And then Lauren said, okay, how tolerant are you of a culture that sells women as property? Or wants like 4 wives or whatever, or wants to, genitally mutilate women, or thinks that it's a good idea to groom little girls into whatever. And they were just like, they had nothing to say.
Amazing.
And this was like on live TV.
That's great. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, tolerance is not a virtue. It's people have they misinterpret it. They think, oh, tolerance means that you're nice and you're kind. No, it means, in my eyes, it means you're absolutely weak. You put up with things you shouldn't put up with.
Well, I think tolerance also means that you have a standard or a limit. Like, it's what you're willing to put up with, and that to some extent defines who you are. So if you're willing to put up with being smacked around and treated like dirt, then like you're a weak person. I don't think any religion would ask people to do that.
I agree. As someone, since you are what the left would say a person of color, you're a colored person, and you're married to a white male who's basically a white male Christian Catholic in that sense. Do you see that there is a media bias that is demonizing white heritage, white people, the Western man, the Western woman, Western ways across the West? And it seems to be like the multiculturalism.
Yes.
They want Western countries to open their borders and get flooded, but you don't see that same energy when it comes to Japan or China. Like, let's go flood Japan and China. Where's that energy?
Dude, it worries me. Like, all of the immigrants who came here for a better life, who came here to work hard, who came here to be safe, they are not okay with that. I did not come to the West to live in Iraq or Syria I didn't come here for that. Like, I don't think they understand that like, I came here for Western culture. If I wanted something else, I would have gone somewhere else. That's what they don't understand. Like, the more the West becomes like quote-unquote shithole countries, the less it's going to be able to attract people who don't want to live in shitholes.
Absolutely.
But that's the thing is that I tell people when people are like saying, like that guy that said that America is a shithole country and go travel and you'll see, it's like, well, is that why people complain about the borders and that everybody wants to come to America? You don't see everyone wanting to move to Canada. Of course you hear the American people being like, I'm moving to Canada, but then they never do. But everybody wants to come to America for a reason, but the crazy thing that blows my mind is, why do people want to come here, then complain, then change it? But I notice the people that do want to come here, like the immigrants I've met, I Uber all the time, and when I meet immigrants that have lived here and came from other countries, actual shithole countries, they have a totally different mindset, and they're appreciative because they came legally. They really value America.
They assimilate.
And the people that are born here, for the most part, a lot of people, they take it for granted, and they just complain about it, and they think that it's systematically racist and all kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't get it. I
think it's kind of a victim mentality. Like, it's easier to just sit there and complain and blame everyone else.
And try to act smart and
than
intellectual.
to actually do something about it.
And give everybody a history lesson. Even though history is like, I hear so many different versions of history from different people that it made me realize, wait, well, what about all the history they teach? Like, I question everything now. I'm like, all right, it does me no good to even think about the past, because all that's real is the present. And if you come from love in the present, you treat everybody equal. Like, they want to keep score with history. Be like, well, this happened, so you whites are getting what you deserve. I'm like, dude, I had nothing to do with anything that happened in the past. I'm Irish, right? And supposedly the Irish were slaves as well, but I don't care. I don't use that card to be like, I'm Irish. America was built off the backs of me. Like, I just don't play those games.
Exactly. I find all that stuff really, it's low resolution thinking.
Absolutely. Low
akin to
IQ.
being like a toddler saying things aren't how I like, so I'm going to have a tantrum until they're fixed. I feel like the left in America has had a 4-year tantrum now because they didn't get what they wanted in the last election. And at some point you just have to go, well, you guys you're not adding anything useful, so we're just going to do our own thing. We're just going to move forward.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel then they go, oh, you guys are moving forward because you have unfair advantages. Well, that's life, dude.
Absolutely.
How do you think we got here?
We all start at different points.
We got here because our ancestors destroyed everything that was weaker and worse off. I mean, speak to them from the point of evolution if they believe in it. So if you don't have any selection pressure, you're not going to get any better. Like, the only thing that doesn't change is already dead.
Absolutely. Like, it's just so obvious. It's just like everyone agrees across every culture that you can spoil a child by doing everything for them and not holding them accountable for their own actions. But when you do that for adults and you say that, oh, it's because they're a person of color and they're oppressed, all of a sudden people forget that and say, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it's not their fault.
People get passes.
Yeah, you get a pass because you have a darker skin tone.
And that's racist. You're treating somebody's different based off their skin color.
Look, I'm sure there's places in the US where this applies. Like in Australia, especially in certain fields, like if you look at real estate, if you look at finance, if you look at IT, right? The people making the most money are Asians. These are all so-called people of color. So if on the one hand someone is saying, oh, things are really unfair for people of color, like what I would respond is, well, then why are we making more money than you are? Because I get this stuff all the time. They're like, oh, this country is really racist. And it's usually a white person saying that.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, if it's racist, then A, why am I here? B, why am I able to make more money and save than the average person? C, why do I own property when I only got here like a decade ago?
Exactly. I mean,
like,
you look at some of these...
buy a house here.
Yeah, like you brought up the
no,
Asian
you just
culture.
Need to work hard.
Exactly. The Asian culture, by far, the Asian demographic in America is far more successful than any other demographic when you look at like their numbers, like relative to their size of the population, the amount of them that succeed, they are far and away the best. And there's no excuse. There's plenty of white people who are poor, plenty of them who have no land. It's just all this, I mean, it's communism, it's Bolshevik, it's the same media lies that they did in World War II Germany. Like how Trevor said, you know, you can't trust history. I'm of that opinion very strongly. I believe that Germany was not the issue in World War I or World War II. I believe it's all backwards and everything's upside down. The real threat has and always will be communism because it comes from evil. And there is a group and several allies who work to do that because it allows them full control of people because they work off making them emotional and angry, and that's how you can rule the world, and that's what Satan wants. It's all based on him. You
can see it clear when you look into duality with up or down, left or right, day or night, evil or love, or you know, right or wrong, and control and freedom. So under the umbrella of good and evil, controlling would be evil. And if you look at the way people are now, especially these days in America, people are voting for that communistic, socialistic, controlled environment where they dictate you, and that's evil. And it's easy to just create the umbrellas and break it down and see that freedom is like the best thing that we can have. And I don't understand why people are so skewed in their thinking. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, even now, right? Because right now in Australia, the same as in America, people are getting paid by the government. And I use the term paid as a meaningless word because we're not doing any work. Right. They're giving us taxpayer money to sit at home and do nothing. Like, this is the socialist utopia. This is what socialists see as the be-all and end-all. And it causes people to get depressed. Like, the suicide rate in Australia, as well as in the US, as well as every country that has had a lockdown, it has skyrocketed.
Absolutely.
Because humans do not thrive on being given money to do nothing.
Absolutely.
Like, humans don't thrive on that. Normal people don't want that. They would rather be dead.
Absolutely.
They would rather be dead than sit at home, do nothing, and get paid for that. I mean, if that doesn't show that socialism is just mental illness, I don't know what else would. Like, why would you want this to be the norm?
Exactly.
I don't want universal basic income. I don't want to be stuck in my house getting paid to do nothing. That's for idiots.
I was just telling him, like, that I've been feeling, like, kind of weird because my schedule's been off because there's nothing to do, like, outside of being at home, you know, and I make music and stuff, but it's like I need that order in, like, you know, like I remember when I'd go to school as a kid, you had a schedule. You had a schedule. You'd get up, go to school, and then like there were certain times that, you know, it's like you were forced to get up. It's something that motivated you. But when it's put on me, where it's like, like I don't have anything specifically that I have to do, and it just makes it so much harder. And I just want that order to be like, all right, I got this planned out. I can do this. And I appreciate other people because, like, you know, like people are changed when they're observed, right? And when I'm around other people, I get this sense of energy where it just fulfills me to like either fellowship. Like that's why we're doing this stream is because that's like people are necessary. I think there's a balance like where it's nice to be alone and figure out yourself, but then at the same time like people are necessary. I miss going out and jamming with other musicians and going to see live music and having some sort of thing to do, doing gigs or whatever. Like it's just it's becoming like the Groundhog's Day.
I know. It feels wrong.
Yeah, it's unnatural.
Yes.
Everything's upside down, like you said. It's all the numbers point towards this being bad for society. Go ahead. Just
when this started, I thought, great, we're gonna have to stay indoors for 3 weeks. Great, I'm gonna finish going over the whole mathematics curriculum, and I got through like a third of it, and then I just gave up. I don't know why. Like if I was working, I wouldn't be doing that. I would be staying up late to do that.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's no end in sight, and you're just gonna give up, and you actually become less productive despite having so much more time to use.
Yeah, I feel that, and then you start judging yourself because you have nothing but time, you know, and then it's just like it's like a spiraling thing because I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm unable to do things that I know I should do or that I want to do, and I find myself influenced by
the stimulus from the world.
Yeah, and I just like like people are getting unemployment, and a lot of people are talking about how they're making more money not working than when they were working, so they're all getting kind of this taste of that stuff, and they're being seduced into it, and it's going to take us off that rhythm to where like getting back going. It's like when you stop going to the gym, it's so much harder to go back, and I just hope that we can come back to the way it was, and better. But I'm not accepting the new normal,
The first hit of it's like the drug dealers. The first sample is always free.
That's
and
right.
then you're hooked.
Exactly. Yeah, they're getting everybody used
not
to
that I've ever
this.
done any of that, but that's what it seems like.
No, that's right. I have, and you're right.
I mean, right now the unemployment here, people are making right about $4,000 a month, at least in California. I don't know if it's across the board, but $4,000 a month in unemployment. They're taking home. I mean, these people. I got friends who never even made that ever in their life, including me. I mean, my last job I was making that and a little bit more. But still, like when you went from making $1,500, $2,000 a month, and now they're paying you $4,000, you are definitely going to want to vote for policies to just keep paying you $4,000 a month, and without realizing it's destroying your economy.
Because you guys are already in so much debt.
Exactly.
Like they're giving you money they don't have. It's the same here. We're in hundreds of billions of dollars worth of debt,
That's
and
why
they're handing out money like it's candy.
I think that this is all a tactic to just change society and totally overhaul it, and that it is always going to be follow the money trail, and they want to digitize everything, including our money. Like they want to be able to track where every dollar is, who's spending it, and they want to change the currency, make the dollar worthless. So we have to switch over. They're going to be like, oh, coronavirus it's safer to not transfer money back and forth, so we're going to digitize it, and there's going to be an overhaul. I guarantee it with the currency. And it's all so they could trace us and control us and track us. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
just give us all a bunch of money for free, so that it turns into crap and it's worthless. And we're like, oh, I got money. That's why I think I want to like definitely convert it into something else, like silver or gold, something.
Or land.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
what
even better.
I'm looking at buying land ASAP. Like,
I feel like growing food, like growing your own food, it's just, I mean, it doesn't just feel good. I don't know, it gives you something that buying it from the supermarket doesn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, people need to go back to homesteading and being sufficient. I mean, if anything, this crisis exposed how vulnerable our system is. If the truck stopped shipping the food,
the food supply.
Like everyone would starve. They would be eating each other within a week if there were no more deliveries to grocery stores. Like people can't hunt. They don't know what to do. They would just start rioting and pillaging. It would be complete chaos. Mad Max.
That was shocking, was it?
Yeah. I mean, what are you guys? So, given that everything, you seem like you're very logical about where we are and where we could be heading. Are you and your husband? Do you guys? Are you thinking of that, like getting land, trying to be outside the city, more self-sufficient?
It's really, really expensive here, and one of the reasons for that is they've allowed foreigners to buy land here and buy property here who don't pay taxes here and aren't really in the system here. So it makes it really difficult to compete. But then again, I mean, I'm saying that as someone who, like, I don't know, I assume if I was born here and I'd started earlier, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this guy called Dave Ramsey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like
I love
a
that guy.
conservative finance guy. Yeah, and one of the things he says is like, don't borrow, save up for what you want. So if I figured that out sooner and I'd invested and done the right things, I feel like I would have been way further ahead than where I am now. So maybe the things I'm saying about, well, why do they let foreigners buy land here, etc.? Because most of those people are like Chinese Communist Party head honchos.
Absolutely.
They send their kids here to study, and then they buy businesses and things here, and they kind of sort of own major parts of our dairy, agriculture, industrial system, property, real estate. I mean, that's basically the Australian economy, and we've sort of sold ourselves to them.
Same
But
here.
maybe I'm just using that as an excuse because I didn't do well enough or work hard enough early on. Because I used to be a leftist, like I voted Green, which I'm really, really sad and sorry about. I mean, my husband was a leftist when he was like much younger, and we sort of kind of moved further and further right together. And it's interesting because he had like friends from back in the day who will call him a racist on Facebook,
Wow.
despite the fact that he's married to an Indian.
Exactly. He's like, do you see the color of my wife? She black.
It's just weird, like, and he has, like older members of his family, like again, white women, who I will have arguments with, who like come to the point of calling me racist, but can't because they're white and I'm not, and it's just funny. And the men will just be like sitting back and smiling.
That word racist is so overused for everything that it means nothing.
It's when they lose an argument, they like to throw that out when they have nothing to say, so they just call you that and walk away. I would say that you and your husband are you are examples of the people who made this country great and what immigration used to be like. You guys should be here because you have those values. You still can be a Hindu woman, have that heritage, but you understand the values that you're upholding and that where we have common ground. That's what America used to be. And just for FYI, if you guys do relocate, I would recommend looking into the Last American Redoubt, REDOUBT. Matt knows what I'm talking about. It's a political migration movement that says it breaks down the best places where you have a chance of surviving communism or crap hits the fan scenario when it comes to the U.S. and North America. And some of the best areas would be the eastern portions of Washington, Oregon, Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming. Just FYI.
Yeah. I mean, I have this like dream of retiring there, but I don't know what will happen by then. So,
I hope you guys come out. You guys are exactly
thank
what
you
we
for
need.
saying that. That was very kind of you. I feel like I've taken up a lot of you guys' time.
No,
No,
don't
it's
worry
good.
about it. Every thought is a lie.
Yeah, I appreciate calls like this because that's what we want is to talk to people. I because I've been in the industry and in LA for so long, and I was blind and I assumed people were my friends and I was doing things wrong. I've lost so many people in my life that I really don't have anybody like at all, and so this is a good opportunity for me to meet people that are like-minded and then I get it so that I can start rebuilding my network, like there's people that I know that are cool and stuff like that, but I've been like betrayed and turned against by people just because of the things I talk about, and so it's good to find these people, and that's one of the reasons why I do it.
Oh my God! If you guys come to Melbourne, we have a couch you can crash on.
Amazing.
Likewise.
I mean, absolutely. Just like let me know.
I would love to. I've yet to go to Australia, so it's on the list for sure. That would be amazing.
Yeah, if you got a piano.
Is it?
Yeah, Trevor could sing to you.
I feel like Australia is maybe 10 or 15 years behind the US, so it's still like a little bit good old days kind of thing out here. You guys are like literally the canary in the coal mine. Like whatever weird stuff happens to you first. So we're just not there yet. I hope we don't get there yet. I hope it doesn't get as bad as it gets there. But the other thing I think also is because we're an island, the immigration, touch wood, up until now has been quite controlled. Like we can decide who comes here, and we try to be careful about who we choose and how. It doesn't always work. Like there's a lot of cases where it has not worked.
Right.
But we get more of a buffer in that, which you guys don't really have. You don't have the option of saying we only want people who are like this to come. Like anyone who wants to come can just run across. And I think that's the issue. Like the issue isn't immigration. It's uncontrolled immigration of people who aren't like you.
Right. It used to be
like
that
the way
way before.
I was raised, like both my parents would always say, like wherever you go, remember that you're a guest. So you have to respect them. You have to respect their culture. You have to respect what they live by, and that's how you carry yourself and conduct yourself in society.
Yep,
and you always have to remember that. And my parents would take it personally if we did the wrong thing.
And even
like,
as a life on Earth, I'm a guest. You know, like God created this order, this way, and I'm a guest, and it's a privilege to be alive and to be here and have the opportunities I have just to breathe and have my health. So it's like I'm a guest in that sense too. So that's why I want to be a servant, because I'm going to be a servant either way. I'm going to either serve good or serve evil with every outcome I do, whether I see it or not. So I got to be more aware and have that humility of in life in general, you know?
Yeah, it's a sense of stewardship. Like, you're not going to be here forever, so you have to maintain things. Like, that's what conservatism is about. It means conserve. It means look after that which is worth looking after and carry it forward to the next generations. You guys should, like, I really, really want to plug this. I have nothing to do with this, but I want to plug this. There's a guy called Roger Scruton.
What was the name again? Roger what?
Roger Scruton?
You say Roger Scruton?
Yeah, Scrutton.
Okay.
He has a documentary called Why. He has a documentary called Why Beauty Matters. So it was filmed back in the days when the BBC wasn't socialist. So someone's uploaded it to YouTube, someone else has uploaded it to Vimeo. He goes through all of the things that Christianity has brought and why they're awesome. Like when you look at a cathedral, when you look at pictures of paintings like the Pietra in Europe, why is it that it touches your soul? And he's talking about that transcendent thing that reaches out to the divine. And it doesn't matter like where you are or who you are, like it affects you. And then the opposite of that is what socialism brings. Like one of the examples he used was, social housing. It's ugly as heck, and it's always covered with graffiti and, crap everywhere and garbage. And he's like, don't blame the people, like don't judge the people who messed it up. They're just finishing what the builders started. Because there's no beauty there, so your human soul can't react to it in any positive way. But he was like, that guy he knew classical music, he knew Latin, he spoke like 15 different languages, he was so well read, like he was familiar with all of the classics of Western literature, and he's such a well-spoken guy, and that guy to me is like the epitome of Christianity. Like he can have a debate with the best of them, but he would never swear, he would just use facts and evidence, and he would just, lay things out, and he's an amazing human being. And I kind of feel like that is what Christianity brings to this world. Like people can become that way when they see the importance of those fundamental things in life.
Absolutely.
And casting that aside is the wrong thing to do.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he's just awesome. You guys gotta check out he's dead now. He died late last year or early this year. He did, exactly. But he was he was actually trying to bring sort of, classical architecture back to Britain. So he had like an advisory role in the next lot of social housing that the British government was going to build. And then one of these SJWs complained about something he said and called him a Nazi and made him lose his job and stuff. Like he's the typical, just good, decent guy. yeah, it's worth checking out. I just wanted to say one last thing about, because I am conscious that there'll be other people who want to call you guys, and they're just gonna be like, look at this woman dominating.
No, they love it. The chat's on fire. They love listening to you. It's nothing but good things. So don't worry about it. What's the question?
Really?
Yeah, you're amazing.
The other thing I wanted to, okay.
Go for it.
So the other thing was, what was this? Oh yeah, so the University of California is phasing out the SAT and the ACT entrance.
I heard.
Yeah.
That is so trash.
Right. Basically, you don't have to be smart now.
Will not want to.
Because it's slowly changing. It's not about education and knowledge or anything. It's about indoctrination. And now they're like, well, we'll take anybody.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not just we'll take anybody. We'll take people who don't have the merit to be here through their own hard work.
They don't have the IQ to actually make. I mean, what it's going to do is going to pump up their ego. 10, 15 years from now, you're going to have these idiots who say, well, I went to UCLA.
Yeah.
I got a UCLA degree. It's like, yeah, but you still have an IQ of 82.
Yeah, and it's not just, I mean, look, they might be a genius, but the thing is, if you don't apply yourself and you don't study, you're not going to be able to keep up with the coursework. And that means you're going to fail, and then they're going to go, oh, well, you failed because the system is systematically racist against you.
Yeah. There's plenty of people who go to music school and intellectualize and learn all about music and can sound like they know what they're talking about, but when they make music, they suck.
Yes, I have heard of this. I have heard of this from people who've actually studied music. They're like, they don't teach you how to make music. You just memorize what's already there.
Yeah, they just theorize it as opposed to get the experience. Like, I didn't go to music school. I just played and sang and did it because I loved it. And it was revealed to me from within to be able to, like, have the experience and learn from the experience as opposed to just knowing it. What good is knowing something when you don't apply it?
Yeah, and you should be able to make new things.
I agree. I personally think that it's not turning around anytime soon. Like that guy Yuri Bezmenov, whatever the ex-KGB agent said, the demoralization of America is already complete. So we're already in that phase where communism is about to take full control, and I don't see it turning around anytime soon. I think we just need to survive it and get your grounding right. Have a firm foundation in your values, because you're gonna need it. The world's gonna look so chaotic that if you're not grounded in the right values, you'll get swept up into it. You won't see the opportunity to survive, where I should live, how I should grow my food. You'll miss all those revelations if you're not grounded.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Like, I think it's the concept of, being an ark. Like, to me, when I read about that story of the ark, it's about carrying forward that which is best and that which is necessary through the bad times.
I agree.
Because, like, the bad times aren't going to last forever. But I think you need to have X amount of things that you take with you to come out the other side so you can start up again.
Absolutely.
And I think, like, to me, living in the first world now, that is all the things that make civilization amazing. And that is rule of law and individual liberty and freedom, the ability to think for yourself. Like, critical thinking is the basis of that, and I feel like we've lost it as a civilization. Like, and when I say civilization, I mean across the world. Like, as humanity, as a species, we need the ability to look at something and go, hey, this is this way, and here's what I need to do in order for it to be this way. Instead of just going, oh, someone told me it was that way, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's exactly it.
But, like, don't be sad, because you have to have faith in, like, the immigrants who come here legally.
Right.
It's starting to look like the Terminator 3 movie we were saying, where like, it's not about stopping it now. It's gonna become about surviving it
And starting again.
and being able to be the one to survive and be able to start over. Because I mean, it just seems insane to, stop it. Because it's been so slow boil for so many years, like 15, 20 years or more, that it's going to take that long to reverse it.
Right.
And it's just rapidly getting worse and worse. So it's like, Now my mindset is like, man, I want to just go live under a rock somewhere
Right. It's the
and
whole
wait it out.
the whole communist tactic. They took over the universities 50, 60, 70 years ago. So what that guy Yuri said was that it's easy enough to indoctrinate, but to reverse that process takes actually longer than the indoctrination itself. You need to outlive those kids who are brainwashed, because some of them are not going to come back. They're completely gone. They will never see logic. They will never see what's right. They are going to forever serve evil. So Christians and people who believe in the Christian values and the Western values, like yourself and your husband, we all have to be prepared, see the opportunities. Where do we go? How do we survive this? Because that's what's going to count. We can't stop this. This is bigger than we are. We just have to survive it and be able to start again.
Yeah. I think we need, like, as a group, to establish centers where things carry through, like little arcs for the future. And I think part of that is being self-sufficient, but also part of that is, I guess, somehow closing out all the bad stuff. And I'm not sure how you do that. Like, there's this guy called Rod Dreher. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Drehrer. And he works for the American Conservative. And he had something called the Benedict Option, which is about how religious people can survive these bad times until such time as, normalcy comes back, or if it doesn't, at least maintain something amongst ourselves for what works. He's kind of interesting to read because the website that he's on, which is the American Conservative, they are conservatives, but they are fairly anti-Trump. But their anti-Trumpness tends to be based on policy rather than Orange Man bad.
Exactly. That's how I am. I'm not anti, but I'm aware of where he's failing big time.
Yeah, and a lot of people now, they're not examples. They just like to point out what they don't like, but they're not. It's like, in life, I'm going to focus on what I want to do and what I love, not focus on what I hate.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This has been one of the best calls ever. What is your first name? Not your IG handle, but what's your first name? Oh, you don't have to say it. Never mind. Keep it anonymous.
But yeah, hit us up on Instagram.
But yeah, find us on social media, Bros and Cons TV,
so we can stay in touch.
Do you guys have an email or something where I can send you stuff?
I have an email. My email is just trevorwesley@gmail.com.
Yeah, anything and everything.
Is there a dot between those two words, or?
No, it's just trevorwesley@gmail.com.
Okay.
Just happy. One of the guys in the chat said, "I want her to read me a bedtime story." They love your voice. I agree. It's amazing.
Actually, I think we should have a thing on YouTube where conservatives just read classics of Western literature, even kids' books from the old days, like Alice in Wonderland or The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, things which have values that kids get hope from.
Right.
There used to be in stories. There used to be a moral to the story.
Yeah.
Where you would learn something, and now there's nothing.
It's immoral.
It's just
amoral.
It's just entertainment.
Yes.
We've lost it.
Yeah, no offense with not doing first names and stuff. It's just because I'm in the education system, and it's very, very, very leftist here.
Yeah, don't. That was my bad. Don't worry about it. Find us on social media. You can email Trevor anything.
I'm not trying to be rude.
No. It's just a slip of the tongue. We're so used to meeting people in person and fellowshipping. I forget. We all have to kind of be a little more cautious with the way the left handles social media.
And I think it's also we're all, because every normal Australian I come across, anyone, we call them tradies here, people in the trades, electricians and plumbers, and because a lot of my husband's family lives out in the country, and they're all right wing, and it's just people I come across in real life are all right-wing. They didn't vote for this stuff. But if you say anything that's not left-wing in public, that's the end of you.
Yep.
It's just...
Yeah, it's a big risk. Like I'm walking that line. I got some friends or former friends and people who they the amount of anger they show you just for voicing your conservative opinions. It's amazing. Like it makes you wonder. Like they sound like they're one step away from taking a punch at me just for something I said. It's crazy. So yeah, you should always be weary, cautious, defensive. Don't have any fear about it, but just see that we're working with equal spirits here, and sometimes they can get pretty violent.
And I think it's I think there's been a massive slip in society's standards of how we conduct ourselves in public. Like it used to be that if you get all head up and you swear at someone, I don't mean like casually swearing, but I mean like getting angry enough to swear. It used to be that was an indication of low moral character.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's seen as righteous indignation by people who are not righteous.
Right. Yeah.
Like being foul-mouthed and being violent, being threatening is seen as a good thing. Like in where I come from, that is seen as a criminal personality. Like exposing violent behavior in public is seen as a criminal thing. Like you are seen as a fallen person if you do that.
Right. It's indicative of you
like
being.
I've never seen any adults from my family like get angry or raise their voice in public or anything like that. Like even if my parents wanted to call me out for something, they'd take me aside and do it quietly. Like they wouldn't yell in front of, like you just don't do that. You don't yell on the street and you don't carry on. That's seen as a weakness, and the inability to control yourself is seen as a weakness. But right now it's seen as a strength, like screaming and shouting and carrying on and being a baby and having a temper tantrum in public is seen as a good thing.
Right. They see it as righteous protest, but that's the thing. We can't reason with these people. They have low IQs, most of them, but they're so arrogant in their ignorance that it's just not going to work. And like Jesse says, we're not here to convince anybody. They're either going to wake up or they're not. You just got to be ready.
Yeah,
take care of yourself.
They're drowning, can't swim at all, and it's like at this point, it's like swim away. If I keep trying to convince you and teach you how to swim, I'm going to drown with you.
Yeah, they'll pull you down.
I just saw someone in the chat saying my mom used to spank me in the dressing room at stores.
Yeah.
Dude, as long as she shut the door, that's fine.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't like super angry. But I agree with Jesse. Women should generally not be doing the punishment because they can get emotional about it and traumatize a child. Not all.
Yeah, I know. No, that's something that I've had a few discussions with my husband about because we're looking to have kids now. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know if it's I don't know if I want to smack them." And I was like, "Well, you're gonna have to smack them unless you want me to smack them." So.
Exactly, and trust that if you guys are living right, that your example, the one you set, means that you'll need very little correction or any dramatic correction. And people always forget about that. It's that fear that tells you that. Have no fear. Just live right. It'll take care of itself.
Oh, I got really mad the other day, and I was just like so disappointed with myself, going, "Oh, what is this?" Because the silent prayer that Jesse has, that silent prayer video.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have that in Hinduism as well. Like I actually do that. That's why I took him seriously from day one. Because when he said you should sit here and do that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's that thing! This guy has to be enlightened."
Exactly.
Because it works across the board. Like you just do it, and it's what he's talking about. You will start to see yourself. Like you become self-aware. You do something stupid, and then as you're doing something stupid, you're going, "Oh, I should pull back now because I don't think this is a good idea."
Absolutely. Trevor had the best way. Like I came to him one day at church or before church about that we don't actually forgive. You remember that? That observation? But it's the awareness is what leads to all that. It's not even that we don't do anything.
Yeah, when you have an understanding and see 2 + 2 is 4, it just makes sense to you. It's not my doing to forgive. It's that I seek to understand and see it for what it is. And once I do that, it just happens. It's not something I'm forcing myself to do, or I'm like, oh, I forgive you.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. Like the things that Jesse said. Like I don't know if you guys saw this. There was this one Jesse video about this girl in Australia who had Tourette's syndrome, and she was like swearing and hitting people and falling over and all that stuff.
Yeah, smacking her mom.
And then Jesse just goes, "That's not." Yeah, Jesse just went, "That's not a chemical imbalance. That's a demon." Like that is exactly what Indians believe.
Exactly. It's
like
all
the way
spiritual.
he said that, he was like that person is in control by someone else, by something else.
Absolutely. It is totally spiritual.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, it's because it feels like when you're doing the wrong thing, like particularly when you're feeling satisfied from being angry or being hateful or being judgmental of someone, it feels like there's an audience there. You guys said that last time. It feels like there's an audience there clapping, saying, yeah, you're doing good, you know?
That's right.
I think that's what the people who are having temper tantrums in public, I think that's what they're feeling. They're going, yes, everyone's watching me doing the right thing. I'm winning, you know?
Yeah, there's a little demon.
That's exactly. That's what we like. You are feeding something that should not be near an ordinary human being. Like, you are attracting bad things.
Yeah, the way I literally picture it when people are like that. I literally see, not literally, but the way it is, it's just it's invisible. But there's a spirit, like basically on that person's back, talking in their ear all the time, congratulating them when they act wrong, and encouraging them to be evil. And that way they always stroke the ego, and the further they go into that, the worse they become. And they start to lose themselves because that demon, that evil spirit is just telling you, yeah, say this, say that. You put them in their place. You did a great job. Yeah, you're doing all right. It's evil, pure evil.
Yeah. And I think, like, from, things that piss me off, excuse my language, things that get me really head up, like later on you start justifying it to yourself, like, oh, that guy was so annoying. Oh, that guy was like, oh, that guy deserved it. Oh, that guy had it coming. Like, or, you see something on TV where something like that is going on, you just go, oh, that guy. I think that's that thing, trying to gain energy from having you go over and over and over it. That's why I agree with Jesse saying don't go over things again and again in your head, because you do something stupid and then you go over and over it and justify it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're facing. That's why we have to. It is completely a spiritual battle. You have to make sure you're serving the right spirit. Like Trevor said, you're going to serve one or the other, so you make sure it's the right one, because the other one will destroy you.
I think I kind of feel like that's why there's so much mental illness nowadays. Because people aren't in their right state, like they're not doing the right thing, and they know it, and there's something inside that sees it and starts breaking down, like just starts giving up. I think that's what anxiety is. Like, people are not doing the right thing, so they're continuously afraid that there's going to be a comeuppance.
Yeah, and then they get
like they're waiting for.
They get these titles like that, anxiety. The doctor or someone's like, oh, you have this or that, making them another victim, where all they have to do is submit or put it to the side and be like, well, that's just my anxiety. And then they'll never overcome it because they've claimed it and they just keep living that way. Like I've seen people all the time, especially on Facebook, talking about their anxiety and that they get all this attention from people. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, get a dog. A dog will make you feel better, and all these little band-aids to temporarily make you feel better, and never dealing with what actually is the root of it.
Yeah, and imagine like the dog has to put up with all that crap.
Exactly. There's animal abuse. No.
Like, what? That's like saying you're sick and you want to like bring one more thing into it. That's like the kind of people who are like, oh, everything's going really bad, but I'm going to have a kid and that'll fix it. And like, no, you're just going to bring that kid into hell.
Exactly. It's misery loves company, and that spirit, like Trevor's mentioned, and Jesse believes, and everyone who woke up to the truth, is the real virus is anger. That's the virus. That's the infectious virus that jumps from people to people. It could jump from a glance. It could jump in words. If you don't have that distance between you and the world.
It's really interesting that you say that. Like, it's that anger. So you know when there's riots and stuff, like there's a whole mob of people and they're really pissed off and then they start chanting and yelling and stuff. There's this sort of split second when there's like this 1 second of calm and then it erupts into violence.
Right.
So there's apparently like animals can detect it, like they detect that point before the violence starts and they want to run away. So like when you see the police on horses and when you see like crowd control dogs and things like that, they actually have to train them to ignore the instinct to run away when that happens.
Wow.
So it is like it does jump outwards, like you said. There's some sort of infectious feeling in the air, and it feeds on whatever's coming from it. And I think that's why there's this point where if you don't calm those people down or you don't disperse them, it just becomes like this expanding bubble of stupidity, and then people start like breaking things and hurting others and things like that.
Yeah, it's a manifestation of pure evil. I don't know if you've seen there's a movie that I showed Trevor. It's called Odd Thomas. It's like a teenage kind of comedy action about a kid who can see spirits, and I think it's a great visual of kind of what it is, that we can't see them. I think some people can. Maybe schizophrenics are not just talking to themselves. Maybe they're having a full-on conversation with that spirit or multiple spirits, and they're all around us. They're there, and they work on some people who are weak and who fall for those thoughts. And it's just knowing that they're always going to be here, and if you're not careful and you lose yourself and you lose that faith, you will get caught up in the whispers that they put in your ear.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, obviously I don't have any evidence of this, but I think in Asia there's a lot of stories like that of things. I just feel like there's so many different cultures that have similar stories that it must come from somewhere, like it must have some sort of grain of truth to it. Because you know how they say like suicide is kind of like, sometimes it works like an epidemic, like particularly if someone does it at school, then a couple of other people will do it.
Yep.
And I've always wondered if it was just something like that, like there's something actually reaching out that's feeding on people's bad feelings about themselves.
Yeah.
And then it drives them to do this stuff that's self-defeating.
Yeah, they're asleep. There's a famous, not famous, but there was a guy who survived a suicide attempt off the Golden Gate Bridge in Frisco. It's one of the biggest suicide spots in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, when he was talking about his story, that as soon as he jumped off, he immediately woke up. Not because it was like he had been asleep.
I remember that.
And it just hit him. He's like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And he fell, broke several bones or whatever when he hit the water. And I think it was his story where a bunch of seals kind of surrounded him. And he kind of took it like a sign from God that, he'll survive it. And he did. And now he's an advocate for, suicide prevention. But it's a spell. It's just like when you're sexing with a woman out of wedlock. You're all into it, you're all lustful, and as soon as you reach that climax, that spell's broken, you're like, whoa, what am I doing here? And you tend to have that kind of like, I gotta go. It's the same thing, you're under a spell.
I gotta go get an STD check.
Yeah, I gotta go to the free clinic.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. Oh, I feel like I'm dominating you guys' time. I should hang up and let someone else call.
This has been amazing.
I think there's someone in the chat saying they're trying to call.
No worries. Was there any other last questions you had for us, Just Happy?
I feel like I had something to say last time, but I think I've forgotten it or just completely gone off topic.
Well, we might come back on tomorrow too, so this definitely won't be our last time. So hopefully you can call in again and check up on us, and we can talk again and see what's cracking.
You can call every night. Don't think about it.
You can call every night.
You got the number.
All right, thanks heaps, guys.
Thanks for
maybe you guys
inspiring.
should put up a schedule where you say when you're going to come on, so then people can.
What was that?
Maybe you guys can set up a schedule where you say when you're going to come on, or just like how Jesse does. The thing which shows a countdown timer of when you're going to be there.
Yep, we got to get in the habit of posting the video schedule sooner. We're trying to get something regular, but yeah, God willing, we'll get that sorted out so that at least for the most part, we try and do 7 p.m. on a semi-nightly basis.
Okay. Thanks so much much for hosting me, and thanks so much for hosting this chat. It's been awesome. And if
Thank
I said
you.
anything that pissed off anyone, I apologize.
No, don't be sorry.
Yeah, don't
Never be sorry.
The
Remember?
truth ain't sorry.
Yeah, don't be sorry. We're not here to care about feelings. We're here about the truth.
Awesome. You guys have a great day.
All right,
too.
be
I'll
well.
see you when I see you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Take care. You too.
That was winning.
Man, that was such a great call. Chat was on fire. She was amazing, guys. Her handle is just happy. She'll probably be back in the chat. Let me see. Unblock my number, you. Johnny. Maybe it's Johnny. Were you the dude who called the hotline like 15 times in the last 2 days when there was no show? If that was you, you gotta chill out, bro. And then I'll unblock you. But that's pestering, if that was it. You know?
I figured he was probably watching it online, thinking it was live, and just kept trying to call in, but...
It was like at 1 in the afternoon, 12.
Unknown caller. Call from
Marty White Van.
Marty White Van. What's up, Marty White Man?
Not too much. Am I talking to Justin Timberlake?
This is Justin Timberlake and Conor McGregor.
Oh, wow. Which one's Connor?
The guy playing piano.
You're the one on the keyboards.
That's right.
Justin, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
All white people look the
No,
same,
man.
so either way, it's the same.
Yeah, I would, I just call it in, man. I was entertained, man. I was just having fun in the chat and everything, and I was like, that lady talked a long time, man. I was like, oh my gosh. I don't even know how long that song or that call lasted, but man, I know Earl's pissed off because he couldn't get through.
No, but she was saying some good things, though, and it was a good call, and time doesn't exist when you're in that zone of truth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have nothing against it. I was just sitting here just going, oh my gosh, is somebody else going to call? I was waiting for somebody else to call, but I don't know. But anyway, I was just, having an argument with my neighbors yesterday, and we were just arguing about fried chicken. And I was telling him, I was like, 11 herbs and spices. And he goes, what are those 11 herbs and spices? I said, I don't know. Nobody knows what they are. KFC, but yeah, we were going through that. It became like a big heated argument. Popeyes, KFC, Stroud's, all these different places.
Yeah.
I didn't really have much to say to you guys. I just wanted to call to see if I could get through because somebody says call in. I was like, all right, I'll try, but I don't think I'm going to have much luck. But, I know.
Good question.
I know
Marty.
one thing I want to ask.
Oh, go for it. What's your question?
Can Trevor play Light My Fire just like the first 30 seconds? Can he do that?
How'd it go? Is that right? Come and set the night on fire.
Yeah, but that part where it goes.
Yeah, that's right.
You know that?
I don't know. I have to hear it again, but I know what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're saying, man. Because I did a cover of Jump Around last night, and it's probably the toughest cover I ever did. Because I was like, holy cow! I mean, that song goes so fast. It's like that rap is so fast on that song. And I did it all in one take, and I'm like, man, that was killer. I think I did 5 different takes on it before I got it right. And it wasn't even right. It was like halfway good, but not great. And you know how that is.
Yeah, question, Marty White Van. First question, are you a Christian?
Absolutely.
Second question, do you believe a Christian is intolerant and uncompromising?
Uncompromising?
Uncompromising and intolerant.
Uncompromised. You mean like, am I a soldier? Is that what you mean?
Just intolerant that you don't, because I mean the way I think if you take tolerance to it's just completely, if you're fully tolerant, it means you will tolerate wrong, not just right. So I believe that if that's the definition, and it means that you will tolerate everything, I think a Christian should be intolerant. So I wonder how you take that. Should you be intolerant or tolerant?
So you're asking me if I would tolerate anything, no matter what the behavior was?
Exactly, because I think that's how a lot of Christians take it to mean that we should be tolerant at all times of all things.
I mean, I believe in forgiveness, if that's what you mean. I mean, I'll forgive anybody for if they do something really bad. I mean, I've had some people stab me in the back. I've had people steal from me. I've had all that kind of stuff, and I'm willing to forgive them if that's what that means. But I mean, if you want to put the Jesse Lee Peterson psychological game on me, I don't know. I don't know how to answer it.
No, I mean there's no right answer. It's just I want to see how other people who are Christians and non-Christians take it, because I overwhelmingly get the opposite response from people who disagree with me, which is they say that, oh, you're so intolerant and hateful to call out the 10-to-1 violent attack ratio of blacks on whites, or the fact that 33% of child molesters statistically are of the LGBT community. And saying that isn't hateful, and it's not being intolerant. It's just observing, and that I
didn't know that was true.
Yeah, and I personally am not. I don't tolerate evil, but I don't go around trying to harass them and just give them a hard time. It's just if someone asks me an honest opinion, I'll tell them what I think, and if I have to vocalize it, I will. But it's not. I just think Christians are too agreeable these days.
And too nice, because I think there's a difference between nice and kind. Kindness is the truth and being able to stand up and say what's true out of love. It's like tough love with your kids. You're not going to spoil them and be overly emotional and try to pander to their feelings in that moment, because in the long run, what matters is them being able to grow and overcome things. And way too many people, especially in LA and entertainment, they're all nice. They put on this smile and make you feel like they're your friend, but they're not. They're all frauds.
Oh yes, I agree with that. Do you like to fight?
I don't like to. I think it's fun for men to wrestle like as kids. That was always good. I think it's
men to wrestle.
Yeah, like you roughhouse with your friends. You have like competitions, see who's stronger. I think that's just normal. It's kind of like a rite of passage. A lot of guys don't do that, so they grow up kind of weak and effeminate. But I don't like to fight, like looking for it. But I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to fight against evil. I'm not going to be afraid. What's that?
Well, I was just going to ask. So, like, okay, so if you kind of like to fight, right? So you might kind of like to fight sometimes. Do you always like try to inflict the most damage that you can when you do fight? Like, do you?
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna knock this dude out, or I'm gonna break his jaw, or I'm gonna
you're talking
break
about
his rib,
physical
or something
fighting?
like that.
You're talking about real fights?
Yeah, I'm talking about like bare knuckle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Street fighting.
I wouldn't say I like to fight. I would always avoid the fight. But if I have to fight, I'm gonna fight, and I'm definitely gonna fight to take them out.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna take a chance of anything, because if they're trying to hurt me, that's why I'm gonna fight. I'm fighting to defend myself, not to start a fight or anything like that.
Like I was telling Trevor and a friend of ours, Kelly, the other night about a story of, I think his name's Brian Stowe. He was the San Francisco Giants fan who came to LA Dodger Stadium and got beat down by several Mexicans, and now he's in a wheelchair for life. What I believe is that you have to be ready and willing to neutralize that threat. Don't pull your punches. I mean, if you got to gouge an eye, if you got to break someone's leg, whatever it is, to make sure that they don't kill you. Because when you're dealing with people who are under that spirit and they're possessed by that anger, they usually don't have an off button. And it's highly likely that they're not going to stop once you're down. You're knocked out like he was, they just kept kicking them and beating them. So I don't want to end up in that position. I'm going to use everything I can to end it. And once I know that it's over, then I'll stop and pull back and make sure they're okay, call the ambulance, whatever it is. But I'm not going to take a chance with that evil spirit, because it will probably destroy me.
Well, that one guy that he went over to the UFC. He's dead now, but that big black dude that used to do the backyard fights. Can't think of his name right now.
Is it Kimbo Slice?
That guy.
Yeah, Kimbo.
Yeah, Kimbo Slice, and now he's got and Baby Slice is still in UFC. But Kimbo, when you'd see him do the backyard fights, once he got somebody he got somebody down where he knew he whooped him, he would stop. It was like an honor code, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by taking them out, meaning eliminating their ability to hurt me.
Right. And then there's this other one that's actually it's on the web. It's like I know it's American Special Forces versus I can't remember if it was Filipino or some other country, but there were they basically had two Special Forces dudes that were elite fighters, and they put them up against each other, and it was just no rules at all. And that American Special Forces guy, first thing he did, I mean, right away, it happened within 10 seconds. He went straight for the dude's eye with his finger.
Oh, God.
And just stuck his finger in that dude's eye, and that dude is just like, oh, he was done. And his own friends were laughing because they couldn't believe that he was taken out that fast. But yeah, that was something I was wanting to ask you, because that's also a Christianity thing, because we used to sing onward Christian soldiers marching off to war. We were in church, we used to sing that, and it's like a thing. I mean, it's like fight for Jesus type of deal, and so I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
They're not going to lay down dead and then be afraid and I'll pray for you while I get my ass beat. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to sign up for that fight just for the hell of it. Like, hey, let's do a no rules fight, because I don't want to get blinded just because I'm messing around with my friends. But you should be willing to do that in a real threat situation, because you don't know what the other person's going to do. And I'm not going to sit there and wait till I gas out and lose energy, because also fighting, you got to have stamina. And it's not as easy as it looks. And in about a minute of full-on fighting, you'll probably be gassed out, both of you. And if you don't have enough to defend yourself, you can be dead. And,
yeah, I'm not like the largest dude. I'm a scrappy guy. But if someone's obviously bigger than me and seems like more of a threat, I'm going to do whatever I need to do, whatever's in front of me to make sure that I protect myself. And that's it.
Yeah, kick to the groin.
Yeah, anything, whatever it takes to win.
Whatever is in front of me.
Yeah, you can't. There's no rules when you're fighting evil, because obviously they're not going to follow. It's different than fighting a professional boxing match. Obviously you both sign up to follow regulation, but on the street, you don't know what that other person, where they're operating from, and you shouldn't take.
You're right about that. I've seen some crazies, but Tyson Unruh. If you listen to his music, he talks a lot about how he grew up, because it was pretty rough, and he talks about that, and he talks about having to fight and having to go through all these things, and I don't know how to word it. Kind of respect him in a way, because he just don't take no stuff, and he says still today, he's like, come across me, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God and whatever, and if you come across me and try to challenge that, you're going to learn a lesson. And he's kind of like that. That's why I was asking about that, because I tried to explain that to my mom, that's actually in the Bible about Christian soldiers. And so anyway, that's why I was asking about it. And
that's kind of why I brought up the whole, should Christians be tolerant, because everyone thinks that we should just lie down and that's how you just gotta pray it away and just love them and they'll see the light. I don't think that's not gonna work. I mean, did it stop the communists from killing millions of people in Russia and Germany and all across Europe or China? It doesn't stop them. Evil doesn't care about your prayers. It doesn't care about your laws. It doesn't care about your values.
Yeah, it's like those I call them libtards, but those people when they always like to throw up that thing where it says turn the other cheek. And it's like, man, no, dude, you don't turn the other cheek.
Yeah,
You
I
fight
only
for
turn
what's
the other
right.
cheek when
That's
I'm
what
hooking
you
up
do.
with a
You
chick.
don't turn the other cheek.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how true it is, but I haven't verified it, but I've heard that the whole turn your cheek example was misread. That some people say that it was about, what they say, that you turn the other cheek because the law back then said that if you got hit twice, then you're justified in beating their butt. So that it came from that they're like, okay, hit me one more time so I can let loose on you. I don't know how true that is, but that sounds more proper than just letting them beat you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know my Bible like I should, but Jeff Lee says just listen to it. Read it. Go ahead.
Oh no, we just got one of Trevor's buddies, San Joaquin News Network. Check him out. He does First Amendment auditing.
San Joaquin Valley Transparency is the homie right there. He films public servants. So whether I don't know if he's been doing it as much now with the coronavirus stuff, but I found his channel, and I learned a lot that I didn't know about my rights and freedoms and how the public funds these places, that they work, and that it's our buildings, they work for us, and just stuff like that. It's cool to check out. San Joaquin Valley Transparency.
Yeah, I might have to look that up.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like Trevor got me into it, and you learn a hell of a lot about how to assert your rights in the right way. And he's kind of like Trump in that he's not trying to throw punches at first. He lets the cops, try and twist the law and infringe on his rights, and then he lets loose with clever insults and being witty, but he's not being angry
Yeah,
about
it's the same thing about the fighting thing. He's not looking for trouble. He's exercising his rights, just filming, and then people come at him and go crazy at him, expecting privacy in public. And it just makes you realize, oh dang, I didn't think of it like that, or they don't teach you that kind of stuff about America and what it means and stuff like that.
Yeah. That press secretary, man, she's a pit bull, man. I like her. That new press secretary, she's tough.
Press
I don't know if you've seen her.
Oh, the blonde one. She's hot.
Yeah, she's a looker. Yeah. And she had a press conference, I don't know, like 3 days ago, where she admitted that she had a mastectomy, and I was like, what? I was just surprised. I was like, why is she admitting this in front of the press? But I think maybe she's like an advocate of that. But I'm like, man, she don't take nothing from those reporters, man. She just freaking just comes right back at them. But Trump's got a talent for picking people like that. I mean, Sean Spicer, Huckabee, and then this one. I mean, they were all tough on the press. I just love to see him fight with the press.
Yeah, that's how Christian men should handle themselves. You punch back in the right way, and and don't fall for the traps where they say, "Oh, look, he's being rude," no, that's just them when they're losing an argument. When you're not angry, you can say anything. It's just different. Like, it's not an insult because, hey, I'm just giving you a little taste of your own medicine. So that's what I do. I go hard on that.
Have you noticed that there's a lot of women that take offense at it though? Because I've noticed that in my family. There's a lot of women. They're like, he's too aggressive. He's not treating them with respect and doing all this. And I said, that's a freaking alpha male. You don't even know what an alpha male is because you're not married to one.
Exactly.
I'm trying to explain it to them, but they don't understand it. They're like, oh, he don't have to be that rude. He don't have to be that tough. And I'm just like, man, that's an alpha male right there. That's a boss.
Well, certain things are not worth reasoning, and you have to just nip it in the bud before because otherwise you're going to get exhausted on yourself, coming down to the level of whoever it is,
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you can only go so hard. Like the last news conference where they were trying to bait him into something about the coronavirus, and he said, "Go ask China," because they always ask him loaded questions, and then they think they're not they're not being biased and setting them up. They try to act like, oh, but it's just a question, but it's completely biased and it's not a genuine question. Instead of continuing, he just walked away. He just said thank you and bye.
It's a backhanded question that's, you know, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So he just ends up shutting it down, being like turning the other cheek. That's what turning the other cheek is.
Yeah, you're just like next.
He's like turning it around, like, oh, you're gonna come at me like that? Well, here, I'm gonna give you a taste of your own medicine.
And then she tried to say, why did you mention China? Is it because of me? Because she was Asian. Again, trying to bait him and manipulate the conversation.
How many times did you watch that interview?
Just once. It was enough to see it.
Okay, I watched it I think around 5 times because I heard a claim that because you remember the white lady that was behind her, she said, you pointed at me, I'm asking a question. He said, I pointed at you earlier, you didn't respond, and so now I'm pointing at this other person. And then the other person didn't ask the question, and then Trump says, okay, and he closes his book and walks off. So he didn't answer the white woman's question that was standing behind the Asian. And I had heard that the reason was because the white woman wanted to ask a question, but she was so excited about the fact that the Asian was putting him on the spot that when she raised her hand and he pointed at her, she went ahead and let the Asian just keep going at it with him.
Exactly.
And then,
she verbalized it. It was on camera. She said, I want my colleague to finish her question. He's like, that's the problem. I didn't call on you to ask her to let her talk again. She's done. I'm not answering it. And there she is trying to manipulate and say, but I want her to ask it. It's like, well, then forget it. You're done too. That's how a man should handle those
Yeah.
things. Like that's pure ego. You can't play with that spirit. Just gotta be like, next, go make sandwiches.
Yeah, she was just like, the Asian's got him. I'm gonna let her go. And she freaking let the Asian go on him, and then once the Asian got shut down, then he moved on to somebody else that wasn't the white girl, and then the white girl got all pissed off, and then he just like closed his books and walked off.
Exactly.
And his press secretary did that too on another one, and they were yelling at her as she walked off. They're like, "You came prepared." I'm like, "Of course she did, idiots."
Yeah, you can't reason with these people, and the more people wake up, they'll see all the little games that people play, just like Ahmaud Arbery and the newspapers printing hunted and jogging, knowing damn well that wasn't even close to what happened, but they use those key words to manipulate. These reporters do the same thing, and obviously, of course, the majority are women, which ties into what Jesse says, that women who don't have good fathers and good men to lead them end up giving into that ego, and men have to be careful with that because you're not going to win. They are working from a source of deception that you can't reason with.
You're totally right on that. I appreciate talking to you guys. I don't know if you got any other calls coming in, but I'm gonna get off here. And you're very quick on that keyboard, by the way. I'm not talking about Trevor. I'm talking about you with that freaking computer keyboard, because I see your comments popping up on the chat.
Thank you. I try and keep everyone involved and just keep the conversation alive.
Oh, I hear you, man. That's good, because sometimes people just don't pay attention to the chat, and it makes people not want to go to the chat. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not talking about your chat. I'm just talking about chat in general.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just, they make comments and like, nobody's listening to me, so why am I even here?
Yeah, well, we're not here, like, I can only speak for myself, but I don't want to be here to just, like, have a platform where I can say, what I think, and that, trying to, like, come from an ego place. I want to hear other people's perspectives. That's why we have people call in, so it could be a fellowship discussion, as opposed to just, like you said, ignoring the chat. And, I wish I had another computer that I can be on so I can see it too and be more involved, but I'm over here. Play the music, monkey.
Monkey boy.
Well, that's got to be tough, though. You're playing the keyboard the whole time.
No, it's cool. It's fun. It's a little practice.
I mean, you'd have like a big screen or something, but you'd have to just glance up at it every once in a while.
Yeah, I just got to figure something out.
Yeah, well, I appreciate talking to you guys, man.
Thank you, bud.
I'll catch you another time.
Okay.
Go KFC 11 Herbs and Spices and check out their coleslaw. It's good stuff.
Thanks, Marty.
See ya.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye. All right, let me unblock Johnny because He fessed up. It was him blowing up the phone at all hours of the day. Don't hate you for it, bud, but now you know. We gotta keep it to showtime. Hold on, let me unblock you from Google Voice. Unblock. Okay, buddy, you are unblocked. See if I missed anything in the chat. Oh, just happy had a little fact. All the press people at the White House don't get chosen by the White House. They get chosen by the Press Association for White House correspondents, which is all leftist. Of course, that's why they always prioritize your Jim Acosta and stuff like that. So it's a setup, of course. Let's see. What else? It's like the Pulitzer Prize Committee, which, yeah, the New York Times got a Pulitzer Prize. Didn't Obama? No, he got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Unknown caller.
And he was not peaceful.
Call from. To accept, press 1.
What's up, Johnny? Johnny, can you hear us?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man. How you
You
doing?
gotta turn down the background mute noise.
Yeah, there's noise in the background.
What?
There's two. Yeah, turn that volume down in the back.
Alright, here we go.
There you go. How you been, buddy?
Just drying out as usual and rehydrating.
So I wanted to answer your question that you left the voicemail before you blew up the phone 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone going in on you or anybody for taking unemployment. I specifically actually remember saying that if they're gonna just give out this money, we gotta take advantage of it. I mean, they're just printing it and they're giving it to illegals and people who don't deserve it. So use it, but use it for good. You know, like you were doing. Pay off your debts, fix your car, go buy some land, invest, get some guns and ammo. So that's where I stand. I'm sure Trevor has his own stance, but it certainly isn't knocking you for taking it.
Yeah, no, exactly. If you can get it. But I think that stuff is really intended for getting back on your feet when you're in a hole.
Right.
But a lot of people take advantage of it, and they end up just.
Yeah, a lot of people are in a hole right now.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, what in the end, the idea of welfare is not the best thing for people. It can be helpful in a moment, but what it's intended for and how they're using it, they're trying to weaponize it. They want people to just give up and have no work ethic and just say, you know what, screw it. I'll take $4,000 a month. I don't want to go back to work, and that's how you get communism.
So they get those entitled people at the grocery stores like, I have 6 food stamps, and the government owes me this and that, and they get all entitled when they don't. They think that being a parent is like the work you do to, they just feel like they're owed stuff.
Yeah, don't get comfortable with it, but use it for good. Like you are, like pay off your debts, fix that car, do good with it, because money is not evil. It's what you do with it.
Yeah. No, I gotta be honest. I look back at I watched the video again, and it was a little shot after I said you're a prostitute if you take 10 mil for getting knocked out by Mike Tyson, and I was like, I couldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't stand for it, and I was like, man, I gotta fucking say something. I'm sorry.
Watch the
I gotta say.
Yeah.
Say what?
Yeah, just watch the F-bombs so we don't get demonetized.
Yeah.
And those are all hypotheticals. Like fighting a match with Tyson for 10 million, it's not gonna happen. It's just like, would you? It's like, yeah, I'll take 10 million because it can change my life, and I can do good with it.
And I earned it. I got knocked out.
Yeah, I got my ass beat.
It was a deal.
I earned it.
You know. But yeah, that's where the thoughts get the best of you. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't conclude. Just
what was that movie?
Stay still.
A jump to conclusion match with different conclusions to jump to.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Office Space.
Office Space.
Office Space.
Yeah, it's like a board game or something like that. No, but hey man, I don't know. I'm not really like I don't like holding grudges, but I do when I get a little tick like that, like it's hard for me to not say something. and so that's the reason I lashed out, and the reason I wanted to do it like off air because it was like, I was upset, and I didn't want to drop a bunch of F-bombs.
But that's exactly the issue. Is that I could tell that it was coming from emotion. So I can't entertain it because I love you, and I know that that's not where you should be coming from. If you're coming from that, I'm only making that spirit stronger in you by entertaining that. You need to have time to smoke on it and realize, one, no one's giving you any crap. It's just you listening to the thoughts in your head, taking it personal, and like you said, you got upset. And if you're upset, that's a sign of you're already being influenced by that spirit.
Yeah. Oh man. I totally agree with that. I'm still a little. I can't help but be salty, but that's 100% right there.
Yeah, because I'm not mad at you for disagreeing. Like, you have your position, and I don't feel the same way. I'm not blowing you up saying, why don't you agree with me? It's like real love is, hey, we see it differently, but it doesn't make me upset that you see it that way.
Right. Shit. Oh man.
Don't feel bad about anything.
Stupid.
It's not a big deal, man. Like, it's growing into it. I spent over 20, 25, almost 30 years, being in my feelings about stuff. So trust me, we've all been there.
Right.
But the fact that you can see wrong or see whatever about something about yourself, like that's all that matters, man. That's it.
Yeah, right. I think it's so cool, like when people call into the show, or not your guys' show, but I like when people call into your show because it's cool to hear everybody else's different perspectives and shit and stuff. I love when people call into Jesse's show and they have this weird awakening and stuff. Like those are the best calls. Like they just it's like, man, it's kind of like you're witnessing something pretty crazy.
Dude, that's exactly. I mean, every Sunday at church, not one Sunday has gone by that when we went to Jesse's that I didn't see somebody have an awakening. In some way, they saw something for the first time, and that's what this is about too. That's what we're not here, like Pedro said. It's not a platform for us to talk. We want to talk with other people and fellowship. We're not here to find people who just look and sound like us. We just want to talk to people. Check your anger at the door. You're free to disagree. Just observe if you have anger or not, so that you don't let that take over the conversation and do what Trevor said, which is become committed to misunderstanding.
Right, totally right, man.
But that's it. But yeah, you're here. You always come back, and it's the same thing. Like with Jesse, the door's always open, man. I'll never reject anybody. But I will handle it in a way that if you're in your feelings, you may think I rejected you or don't want to listen, but sometimes you need a smoke on it, and I can't entertain that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was just the blocking. The kind of thing, I can't let it. It's still kind of bugging me right now.
What part are you holding on to? What thought about it? What do you think?
The fact that you guys wouldn't answer my call off air. You know what I mean?
We get calls from different people who call and leave voicemails, just random immature things, just as trolls.
Right.
So we didn't know who, where you were coming from at all. We're just getting phone blown up. I'm like, man. And
remember, we're here to fellowship, but I don't have Jesse's personal line, and I have no right to demand that he answers my phone call whenever I want. There's a distance we should keep from each other, and that's respect. I'm not going to blow your phone up again to try and change your mind. We always have a forum. Once we're on air, call. That's our forum. That's our time to fellowship. But you should have your time for your life, and we have to have our time for our life. But it's nothing personal. It never was, never will be.
Yeah, I felt like I made it clear who I was.
Well, you didn't say your name, and you sounded a little more country. I was telling Trevor, I was like, this sounds like someone from Alabama, but it says NorCal. So it didn't sound exactly
that's alcohol.
Well, see, there you go. So do you connect it? Remember, you always said you you can see yourself, and you mentioned that observation that it's not always the best thing for you to drink, but you called when you had some drinks. So you see how that opens a door for that spirit.
Yeah, that's right.
But either end, and the most important thing, Johnny, dude, it's in the past, and the past is not real. It's gone. So what happened yesterday, what happened 5 minutes ago, gone. It's always a fresh start. So don't worry about it. Just keep it to showtime. You can call me anytime during showtime. You can message me on social media. You have my Instagram. I like to interact on those platforms because that's where I feel it's appropriate, and I get to have my space, and you can have your space.
MySpace.
Yeah, not Facebook. How does Trevor?
Yeah, I know you're into Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but right now I need MySpace.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm totally internet retarded. All I do is YouTube, and I just recently started trolling the chat, so.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't do none of that, but yeah, I'm just glad to clear the air, man. I don't, like any sort of like tension or whatever, I usually kind of pick up.
It's all in your head, man, and that's just see that, observe that. That's the problem with thoughts, and that's why Jesse's absolutely right, man. You gotta stay out of your head because that's where the devil is, bro. He's that snake in your mind. He's that whisper in your ear. That's Satan. So just don't listen to it. You just wait, sit still, relax in that uncomfort. It's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna want to make you feel angry, but relax in it, and you'll see the way out.
Yeah, it sounds good, but damn, man, it's something about like people who don't like see other people as a hurt person, and then just like call them out like they're being like a victim and all that. Like that's like the dialogue that I don't get. It's like you see all this crap in the chat, like oh, it must be his mama's fault. Like what the really? Like it's his mom's fault. Okay, like you don't even know the man. Like come on, don't make any sense.
Well, I mean, just give it time. You may not see it now, but in the end, if you have strong feelings about something and you get emotional, upset, or angry, the issue is never going to be the other person. Your issue is you. And the same thing with me. If I get angry, if I get mad at somebody and I get angry, it doesn't matter what that person did. I need to look at myself. I need to observe what the heck is going on with me. Why am I letting this take over my body and make me feel this way? It's not the other person's fault. You got to focus on you. You're responsible for giving into that or resisting it. Resist the temptation to get upset. No matter what.
I can't control other people.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to teach you.
You can't control other people, and you can't control the environment, how you feel inside about it. Like that's what I realized about me is I don't like my environment to dictate how I should feel. So like if say you're in the chat and people are talking crap or whatever, like they have no control over my peace. They're not going to say something that's going to try to get under my skin. Like on Facebook, some dude was like, "Oh, I can see I struck a nerve." I'm like, "Nah, you don't have power over my nerves." You don't have power over my nerves. And he tries to position it to where I can tell he's trying to irritate me, and that's that anger. Because I'm not saying stuff to try to irritate anybody. I'm just saying what I believe is true, and so like. Other people don't have that control over me.
Yeah, don't. You have to resist that. You can't control anybody. Don't get mad at what anybody says. Nothing should affect you. There should be there should be nothing in the world that you can't overcome. That's gonna hurt you or any way that you can't live without. That if you still have those things, then you gotta keep watching yourself and see what is going on. It's not a peaceful way to live. I imagine you don't feel very peaceful when you get angry. Because I don't.
No, sir.
So just watch it. You do what you want. You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta suffer on your own. I had to suffer. I had to overcome alcohol and overcome weed. But it was only done by observing. So just observe yourself. And if it's meant to fall away, it will fall away.
Hey, you said the last time you smoked was like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Beard guy?
Yeah, December. Before I went to Dallas for New Year's, I quit drinking and smoking.
And what was that like?
it was the weirdest one because I've been smoking for over 20 years. I've been drinking since I was in 18, 19, and not heavily, but like 21 and over. And I've always tried to quit. I've gone a few months here and there without drinking. I've quit weed for a few months, but I would always come back to it. I would always give in. I'd always be like, I just need to unwind. And that was the first time in my life, after waking up and finding Jesse and coming back to God, where I didn't even plan it. I was just getting things sorted out to go to Dallas to go see a friend for New Year's. And in the matter of a couple weeks of getting that sorted out, I just didn't even think about it. I didn't go buy it. I didn't crave it. I didn't even remember. It just like it wasn't on my mind. So it just literally fell out of my mind.
But what do you think triggered that change? I mean,
it was just like staying observant. Like I literally did not go in my head because whenever I wanted to drink or smoke, it was a thought about it. Like, you know what sounds good? Some weed right now. Or you know what? I could use a drink. It's me talking to myself in my head. And once I stopped doing that, I didn't even think about it.
Well, you had nothing to do, it sounds like.
No, I was training.
And then when you had something to do, it was like, okay, well, if I smoke weed, it's gonna mess it all up.
No, dude, I was working 16 to 24-hour shifts. I was working with a line crew that fixes power lines. I would be up all night, standing on my legs for up to 24 hours at a time. I was working like, over 80 hours a week for 3 months. I had 3 days off of work. In about a 3-month period, I had I think about 3 days off of work. I worked straight for about 3 months straight. So I had plenty to do, but I wasn't in my thoughts about it anymore. That's the only difference.
Yeah, you do that, you need some pot after that. Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, don't just trust me. You gotta figure this out for yourself. Just keep observing. Just watch yourself, catch yourself getting upset, and see it.
Yeah.
What time is it?
It's time to wrap it up. Johnny,
right,
any last questions, brother?
What's the what?
Any last questions?
Yeah. I got one, and it is, how long has that beard been growing out?
I think I've had it on my face. Last year I actually shaved it. I think mid-year. So this is probably going on about almost a year, but I've trimmed it. Before the quarantine, I was, going in once a month to get it trimmed back. So I haven't had a trim in, 4 months, 3 months.
Nice.
But you gotta put oil. If you're gonna grow a
beard. Do you
beard.
use it as a mask?
Nah, it's not quite long yet. Maybe in a few more. Maybe by the end of the year, it'll be long enough.
Awesome.
But yeah, if you can grow a beard, grow a beard. It's great. I don't like shaving, and I think a beard is masculine. It raises your testosterone.
Yeah, and it's known to keep out viruses.
You ever seen a lion shave his mane?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta, don't shave what God gave you. You're supposed to have facial hair, so let it grow.
Don't tell that to the ladies.
Yeah. But thanks for clearing the air, Johnny.
Yeah, man. I don't. Yeah. Anyway, you guys stay cool or whatever.
All right, man.
Thanks, bro. And then we should be back tomorrow, so just come hang out again, and we'll do this again.
Oh yeah, we'll do, man.
All right, Johnny.
Bye.
Be well. Great call. Overcoming in the moment. Well, we're gonna wrap it up because that was a pretty good long one. Thank you for calling in, Just Happy from Australia.
Yeah, that was great.
Super amazing call. And then Johnny, of course, we love you, bro. Thank you for calling in. Everybody else in the chat, all the super chats. It's always a blast, man. Trevor's gonna take you out.
Pros and cons, pros and cons. The world blames dad when it's really your mom.
Good night, guys.